that time again. You know what it is. You're now tuned into the Recap with the GoodFellaz podcast. We back in the building. You know how we do every week. We chopping it up. We breaking it down. Everything that went on during the week. And as always, there's a hell of a lot going down. It's your boy Tommy Guns alongside my man Dav Noble. What up?
Yo, what's good? What's good? How's everybody feeling out there, man? Great day.
Shy Montana in the building.
Cojones.
The legend himself, Big A. What's good?
What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Big A. You already know every week. Got something new. Boom! Doritos with you, baby. This is what we doing this week. Doritos with you, baby.
And of course, Heritage Hip Hop's own Karev Yah doing what he does. What's going on?
Well, salute to everybody out there. Salute to all the Corona survivors. And shout out to Big A because we running jerk chicken tonight.
Yo, in this episode of the Buffet Podcast, brought to you by GoodFellaz. Yo, shout out to everybody right now tuned in. I don't care whether it's YouTube, Facebook, HBO Max, Disney Plus, your local buffet, however it is that should tune into the GoodFellaz show. We appreciate y'all. So anyway, a lot going down. We got some good-ish. We got some crazy-ish as always. But yo, on a kind of sad note, prayers up to DMX, the legendary. Shout out to all my hip-hop fans, all my music fans, and just fans of life, because DMX was one of those rare individuals, I feel personally, that he kind of eclipsed being a rapper. You know what I mean? He did some movies, but he was a personality, man. I mean,
personality.
Yeah, even when he wasn't making music, and he might have went on a period of maybe 5 years, you didn't hear anything from him musically, but as soon as you hear from him or see him in the news, you're like, yo, DMX, you pay attention. He's one of those rare dudes that just commands our attention no matter who you are. So
unfortunately, it's like
yeah,
the fact
DMX, much prayers going out to him. But yo, right now we're talking, it made me think, hearing about his health problems and all that. We're fans of 90s, 2000s hip hop. And arguably, there wasn't a bigger, more impactful artist in the late 90s, early 2000s than DMX. And mind you, we're talking with the Jay-Z's of the world in the mix and the Nas's and Eminem's. Like, there was a lot of important artists in that era of music. And DMX arguably had a run where wasn't nobody messing with him. So let's talk DMX's legacy in music and life. This is the GoodFellaz. This is the Recap with the GoodFellaz podcast. Dav Noble, what can we say is DMX's legacy?
I mean, DMX is like everybody's favorite uncle, bro. Like it's unfortunate. Like you always root for him because you know that he's always had those demons. Like he's even through all his, some of the songs, he was always that dude who like, because a lot of rappers they do the Jesus songs and the Pray For Me songs, but like when X did them kind of songs, like I'm slipping, I'm falling, I can't, like them songs, like them joints hit you like here, like you felt like them joints is coming from a place, and I think you kind of just like embrace that, like, yo, this dude is going through stuff. And then as he would get in trouble, you just be like, oh man, like I hope he gets it together, because there just was nobody like X, man. Like for me, like I don't know if he was like, obviously there was gangster rap and you had, gangsters, but I felt like DMX was the first, like, that dude was just gritty, like gutter. He had the whole block like in the back with the dogs, and I'm like,
you believed him.
It was just this energy that I'm like, yo, like Busta Rhymes had it, but it's just like, yo, X just had, like, X was the dog. Like when he talked, when he barked, like when it's like, it was crazy, yo. Like dude had energy, and his just the sound. It was a different sound. Like he's an iconic artist, man. And I, you hope that the story doesn't go in the way that a lot of these stories go. So I was legit worried, man. I'm not even gonna lie. Like when I heard that story, I said, "Oh man, like not X, like not because of that, but I mean that's a tough demon. But that dude's a legend, man, and he's up there. You can't think of he still one of my favorite songs. With types of games that being played, how it's going down.
Yeah.
That song is timeless. I can put that song on right now, turn that up, and bump it, and it still goes. It still craps on half the stuff that's on the radio. And that's how most of his songs are. His hits are hits, timeless hits. Like you can play them now, you can play them at any point in time. You play Y'all Gonna Make Me Lose My Mind anywhere, people getting up. Dancing. You get like me, dog. Everybody in the whole party. Like, yo, it's crazy. Like that kind of energy is contagious, man. So no matter what happens, no matter where he ends up with them demons, man, X is solidified like in culture, history. Like he's like Snoop type level where like everybody know DMX. Like everybody knows DMX. Now I don't know anyone who's like, yo, F that. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody, whenever you see DMX, it's like, dang, man, I hope he does it. I hope he gets it. Like, you know what I mean? So that dude's a legend to me. Like the games are being played. Yeah, I used to play, hold up. I know some of y'all, Tommy, I know you was in the whip, but I played when we used to cruise down Central Ave,
Yo, Rough Riders Volume 1. You can't tell me that shit ain't Run the Summer.
Yo, oh my goodness, yo. Central Ave. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Hey yo ma.
Hey yo ma. The sounds of Hey Yo Ma can be heard echoing through the night, let me holla at you. Hey yo, F you, yo.
Yo, I'm telling you, man, he changed the landscape of hip hop. Before that, it was the bad boy era, the shiny suits, Mace, Puffy. They pretty much had a lock on New York City. Jay was, he was on his come up. He wasn't full Hova yet. He was still, on the grind, Jay. But DMX was, from the moment Get At Me Dog dropped, it changed the soundscape and the culture of not only New York hip hop, but hip hop in general. Big A, do you agree?
I agree. Also, for factual knowledge, DMX was one of the first artists to actually have all three albums debut at number one when they debuted, in which he actually made history when he debuted all three albums. His first three albums debuted number one on the Billboard, his album. So that was, that showed you the influence of his craft, his music, his vibe, his energy. No matter what, you always had something timeless on one of his albums. Even his lackluster album, any of his albums you consider lackluster, he always has something that was considered to be a hit, a real, genuine, powerful hit. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's devastating to hear. Addiction is real. A lot of people, we all have our demons that we deal with, and unfortunately, this brother still has to deal with these demons. And it looks like this one may have gotten the best of him at this time. Hopefully he can recover from this. A lot of people out there praying for him. Us here in general, just hoping, nothing but positive vibes for the brother, but he's a classy person, even though he has that gritty side, of the culture. He's always been talked about as a real person. People in the streets generally, when they see him, they approach him. It's not a problem. You never heard of an issue of him walking in the streets and it being a problem. The streets respect DMX. He's from the streets, but he knows how to conduct himself as a person. Now, of course, he had these run-ins with the law, and he's also had issues with drugs in the past. But that's his demons, and he's always put those demons out on Front Street from the first album. He let you know, this is who I am. My whole persona is not a persona. This is DMX. This is Earl. This is Earl Simmons. You know what I mean? So, he's a respected person, and I can only wish nothing but the best for him. I'm hoping that he pulls through this one. This time, I hate to say it, but it reminds me when I was a teenager. And I heard that Tupac had gotten shot.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, Tupac gonna be all right, man. It's Tupac, son. Like, you know, and I literally remember hearing on the radio. I know hard to believe, but I was getting my hair braided. I know it's hard to believe I'm bald headed, but I was getting my that's how far back. I was getting my hair braided in cornrows. And the girl that was my friend, my boy's sister, was braiding my hair, and we was in shock. But then for like 30 seconds, we was in shock, and he was like, man, that's Tupac. He'll be all right. Like, we didn't think nothing of it. And then, you know, to hear that he didn't make it, it was just like, wow. So now, you know, ever since I heard anything, like if any of my icons, I always consider the fact that it can be real. So I'm praying that, you know, the brother actually makes it through, because it's sad to see somebody of a great stature that has an effect on the community as a whole, not just the music community, but his community in general, on a positive note, you know what I mean? So just hoping that he makes it through.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Tupac, because I remember this was like when X first dropped, it was like a weird transition period for hip hop. We had just got over like the beef, the West Coast, East Coast beefs, the deaths of Biggie and Tupac. And a lot of people actually at the time had made comparisons of DMX to Tupac, you know. So it's funny because, you know, they just had that larger than life persona, and there was a certain authenticity to them. Because I remember a lot of people like, yo, this dude right here trying to be like I remember that was like a big thing when he first came out, before he really kind of solidified who he was and like the whole Rough Rider brand. So it's funny that I also got similar vibes. Like, part of me thinks tomorrow he's gonna wake up and be like, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, hopefully this happens. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Definitely. Sean Montana, what do you think that DMX's legacy will be in hip hop and just in life?
Well, y'all know me. Y'all know that I'm not one of those that automatically becomes a fan of someone because something unfortunate happens to him. But nonetheless, I have to say that back in '98, DMX was the MF man, yo.
Yeah.
That guy back in '98. I wanna take y'all back to '98 because
story time. Let's go.
All right.
Let's go.
All right. Y'all remember at the time DMX came out, Jay-Z, was, cranking out hits too. It was a whole resurgence of Def Jam.
Yeah.
Onyx was back out with Shut 'Em Down. I forgot who else. Cormega was supposed to be a next big thing. I believe Foxy Brown.
Don't forget Redman and Method Man.
Redman and Method Man. So 1998 was a big year for Def Jam. And DMX was pretty much, and Ja Rule was coming out.
Don't disrespect DMX by talking about Ja. Don't play with you.
But DMX was pretty much the forefront of that whole resurgence of Def Jam. And man, that Dark as Hell Is Hot album was fire, man. That album was fire.
Yes, sir.
Was Swiss wasn't producing before? Did Swiss come on the scene with them too? Right?
Yeah, he was a part of Rough Riders from the original.
That's when he came.
But Swiss had been around from at least Nori's album.
Yeah.
Nori's first album. Shout out to Nori, who had an amazing collection of up and coming producers. But Swiss is still pretty new.
He catapulted his whole persona off of Rough Riders, off of doing the production for Rough Riders.
That's what Swiss really.
Yeah, he came off of that.
All right. That's how I was trying to figure out. My bad, Shaw. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, man, and I'm not sure. I can't say it was DMX that brought the Locks to the Rough Riders, but you got to remember they all knew each other. They're all from Yonkers.
Yeah.
He definitely had to have something to do with it. These guys are all from the same area.
Yeah, he was instrumental in them going to Rough Riders.
Yeah. So he kind of resurrected their career by bringing them over to Rough Riders. With the We Are the Streets, I think that came out around that same time. Wild Out and all that. Like, like honestly, bro, like and then the whole Rough Riders movement, period, man. That Drag On, you know what I'm saying? That song Down Bottom with
Juvenile.
Like you could pretty much say DMX had a huge effect on hip hop for the next at least 3 years. And those 3 years were some of the hardest years in hip hop. Like, you know what I mean? Some of the most instrumental years. If there was any 3 years that you could possibly be like the man in, and it count a lot, is them 3 years. From 98 to like 2001.
Yeah.
Yo, he is so solidified. Like, I swear, you can go to any, I'm pretty sure it's still, you go to any black college, I'm guessing, and you go to any fraternity party and you got cues, you're gonna hear Atomic Dog and you that y'all gonna make me lose my mind.
Yep.
That's solidified stepping song, man. Like, that dude, he had Eve. Eve was killing it. You know what I mean?
Rough Riders was killing it.
Yeah.
Sha, are you a DMX fan? I got the impression that you weren't the biggest fan, but are you a DMX fan?
Just like with a lot of things, when Wu-Tang first came out, I was the biggest fan.
Mm-hmm.
Dipset came out, I was the biggest. Things fade after a while. Once the music settles, it just doesn't hit like it used to. You know what I mean? Yeah. So my fandom of DMX did slip, but that takes nothing away from the nostalgia of 1998, where that guy's Dark in Hell is Hot album, man, was wow.
Yeah.
It was just insane. You gonna let me fly or give me death? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, effing with D, 1, 2, X is coming for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, niggas done started something. You know
word.
Yeah, the energy.
Damien, you had the song where he's talking to the devil.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The Convo where he's talking to or God. He's talking to God. So, yo, he had some joints that first album alone.
Word.
Yeah, word. Absolutely, yo, it's your boy Tommy Guns. Just real quick, I want to give my 2 cents. Yo, I think that DMX, in one of the, as Sha brought up, in one of the most crucial eras of hip hop, was arguably the biggest artist of that period. Like I mentioned earlier, we were coming post Bad Boy era, post East Coast, West Coast beef. Let's remember, there's a lot of sadness in hip hop, a lot of controversy, a lot of people, once Pac and Biggie were murdered, people didn't know if this thing was going to continue, the way it was. A lot of people I don't know. Like, there was a lot of craziness up in the air. He also came out during that golden, I feel like the second resurgence, but it was a golden era of 90s hip hop, early 2000 hip hop for sure. Like Sha had brought up, you had Jay-Z almost in his prime almost. He didn't reach the levels he would eventually reach, but Jay was right there. You know what I'm saying? Ja before he really blew up, because remember Ja held Def Jam down for a couple of years as well.
It was around that era, it was on that same era too.
Yeah. Redman, Method Man were in their prime, and they were big artists. I remember that Hard Knock Life tour. Oh man, if there was ever a tour that I wish I would have went to, a show I wish I could have seen, it would have been that Hard Knock Life tour. Jay-Z.
By the way,
what up?
By the way, I want to also bring out that, in my honest opinion, I think that a lot of the reason why Jay sold them 5 million copies was Money Cash Hoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even the song they did, X was on it, and I'm not even talking lyrically, but just energy wise, I feel like X murdered it. Mm-hmm. It was a Jay song, but X left an impression on that record.
Word.
And to me, what I find one of the biggest assets I feel like in DMX as an artist is he wasn't, he was lyrical, but he wasn't like a premier lyricist. He wasn't rapping all fast, but his energy and he had an authenticity about his verses and his music that you believed him. From the ad libs to the barking, he would go on the track and he would murder it with personality. He wasn't always gonna hit you with the metaphors, but he would hold it down, whether he got on the he could mix up the hood shit, the gutter shit with like, you know, prayers and talking about God. And, you know, at the same time, he had records for the shorties like Davin mentioned. Like X is one of those artists that whatever he talked about, was a hit.
He had Marilyn Manson on the album.
Huh?
He had Marilyn Manson on his second album.
Yeah. And to me, Dark and Hell is Hot was a great album. Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood was another dope album. Matter of fact, he was the first artist to have 2 #1 albums in the same year on Billboard. Yeah. Nobody had ever done that before. You know, like he had joints, you know, and it was in a short span of time. You know, he was in movies. I remember Romeo Must Die, Belly. Everybody remembers Belly, the hood classic, you know, and he, you know, nobody's going to confuse him for like a Oscar nominated, classically trained actor, but he held his own. I mean, granted, he played him in every role, but at the same time, like he did a good job. Like he was one of those rare individuals where whether it was rapping, movies, just his personality, it caught your attention. And he was arguably for that a good 2 or 3 year period, the hottest artist in the game. Bigger than Jay-Z, bigger than Nas, even Redman and Method Man, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like he was arguably that dude. Like he would drop a single, drop an album, it's going platinum. He had a nice run, and you gotta respect. I feel like that's his legacy. Karev, what do you feel is DMX's legacy in hip hop music?
The only way you could define a superstar or somebody bigger than hip hop is their era. If you don't have an era, you're not a superstar. You're a star. DMX had an era that is by far undisputed. Look, y'all could talk about all of music. That's too easy. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to Shaw, because he brought up the Survival of the Illest concert, which was one of the illest concerts ever. You know what I'm saying? The Carmega and them, you know what I'm saying? And DMX was the headline, and you got to see how much of a star he was on that. But that's too easy.
Correct. Say that again. Hold up. What do you say with the era? Say that again. A
superstar is somebody who defines an era. You could be a popular rapper, you could be a star, but a superstar has an era where they ran it. You know what I'm saying? And he definitely ran his era. You could say 2-3 years. I'm gonna give him 5-7 years. Because you gotta remember, DMX was still in the shows like Cannabis was when they were first coming out. So everybody's like, who's gonna be better, Cannabis or DMX? We so happened with that. You know what I'm saying? but like I said, music is too easy. Let's take it outside of music a little bit. When Def Jam Vendetta came out and the kids were playing the game, they played with DMX. He had a video game character. That was huge for kids at that era. You know what I'm saying? And Def Jam Vendetta was like a very big move for hip hop at that time because it crossed over into video games. So we got to see the marriage of that. And his character was one of the most popular characters in the game. Too easy to go music. Let's go another route. We talked about movies, right? Romeo Must Die is one of the funniest movies ever. And his character, you cannot take serious. But it's one of the funniest people ever. Anybody who could jump off a wall with Tim's and beat up a dog. Yeah. Action movie star for the rest of your life. You know, but that's too easy. We're all forgetting DMX's hit that nobody talked about. And that's him singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That is DMX. Because while everybody's thinking about him barking and shit, him singing A Christmas Carol became not only a meme or whatever it is, you know, it is now, but they actually played that on the radio, and that was a joke.
Yes.
And that actually has over 1 million streams on social media, on Spotify and Tidal. Him singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody roots for X. That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Everybody roots for X.
There's a DMX in everybody's family, unfortunately. And I think this really shows us how important it is to keep up with our relatives and people that we know that's going through stuff. You know what I'm saying? I personally think this is more than just an accident myself. Because if we know somebody's going through something, you don't enable them. Enablers are the people who will run you to your death. You know what I'm saying? And I would hate to see, because I've read the latest report and it does not look good, but only the Most High can tell you yes or no. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to keep it there ahead of the Most High. I pray that the Most High teaches us through this example, in whatever way it goes. May we heal and get better from it. You know what I'm saying? And bless his life eternally. You know what I'm saying? But the one thing I'm going to always remember about DMX besides the stories of him getting high and beating people up or whatever? When DMX disappeared, hip hop was okay, right? Then the Lox came out with a new album. And if it wasn't for him being on that song, that song wouldn't have had no life. He breathed life into a track that was okay. He made it better. And that's been his whole career. He's always been the guy that made the track better. And just to go out on this note, musically now, you know, since that's the premise of how we know DMX, my favorite DMX verse of all time is on Usual Suspects with Mike Geronimo. And DMX has the first verse. After that verse, you had to step up or you were forgotten. And they remixed that song twice. One with Fatal Hussein, and I think they took Tragedy Gaddafi off, I'm not sure. But the bottom line is this. When X set the song off, the bar was raised to the point where either you remember just who he was or somebody else stood out to you. And most times DMX stole the show. So at the end of the day, whether you're a fan of the Rough Riders anthem, DMX's movement, his movies, or even you like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the bottom line is like DMX is gonna live forever in hip hop history as the after Pac, they was still hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And then there was X. He gave us the game. So salute to X.
Yeah.
Word. I just want to say also, you gotta showed how popular he was and how his persona was more than regular. He was in, you know, a brief group with Jay-Z and Ja Rule, who were the forefront of Def Jam at the time, right? And he was the most.
Ja didn't come to later. It was. I mean, Ja was the little man's in that group.
Yeah, he was a little man in that group. But what I'm saying is,
he was the star.
DMX. Yeah, they all three were stars. DMX was the biggest star.
Yeah.
Whoever would have thought DMX would be a bigger star than Jay-Z? But we know at that time, because of the momentum, because of the steam, because of the influence, DMX was the biggest star in that trio. And it's ironic because you look at Jay-Z, an icon, you wouldn't consider DMX like that because of, you know, where things are now. But now when you look back at it, it shows you the influence, like Karev said, that was part of his era. That was DMX's era during that time.
Yeah.
And it was dope.
Well,
so go ahead.
Hey, you brought up a very interesting point. Unfortunately, we got to pay those bills. We're going to come back. It's battle time. We're going to figure out in their prime who was better, DMX or Jay-Z, DMX or Nas, DMX or we're going that route. This is the Recap with the GoodFellaz podcast. We talking DMX and his legacy. We're going to come back. Man, it's battle time, man. We want to hear what y'all think. Shout out to everybody on the Re-Up. We'll see y'all in a few.